another lesson, another location in my house. Okay, so last time in the last lesson we looked at the idea of major chords, major arpeggios, and the way they always have the same pattern from the root note up. So you've got a root note, a note that's 4 semitones higher, and a note that's 7 semitones higher than the root note. So on the low E again, that's an E, open string, 4th fret, that's a G sharp, and then the 7th fret, which is a B. Okay, obviously the rules we went over in lessons 1, 2 and 3, the idea that you can move things up in positions and up in octaves, they still apply. So the easiest way to do that is just to take this and move that up 12 frets, which sounds like this. That's a bit tricky. So what you might want to do then is refinger it, find other ways of playing it, and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. But I'm going to try and keep things a little bit more theory oriented for now, and then we're going to move into kind of the practical way of moving chords around, and then it'll get very easy to move arpeggios around as well if you need to. Okay, so I told you guys to look into minor chords, and if you did you'll still be ahead, but they've got a little bit more work to do before that, because I want to cover how we name things and how we form chords that are different to major chords. So if you just learn this shape, basically, first of all, I try not to ask you to learn anything without you understanding it already, but learning this shape will make things a lot less confusing in future. Okay, so okay, that's the C major scale. For those of you who are well on in learning notes of the fretboard, you actually know this already all along the low E string. If you just play all the notes that aren't flat or sharp, so C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and you already have this along your low E string, although it's probably much easier to play than you know what I mean. So you can see already the ways we learn moving things around positions are very useful if you're going to be learning scales. So I'm going to give you 5 to 10 minutes, whatever it takes, just to learn these notes. Oh. Note to self, ignore the last take. Okay, so that was the major scale in the key of C. Oh. So that was the C major scale. So that has so many applications and so many uses in improvisation, in creating chords and everything, that they're frankly too much to get into now. So we'll just go on ahead and we'll keep coming back to it, and you'll see it's everywhere, it applies everywhere, it's useful everywhere, and knowing it is so important. Okay, first of all, it's the most important scale in Western music and has been for hundreds of years, and so whenever we are talking about note choices, we relate them to the major scale. So if I play this, I wouldn't tell people that's C, D flat, E, G. I'd say it's a C major with a flat second. That would mean that you would take the second note in the scale and flatten it. So that means move it down 1 fret, 1 semitone. So if any of you are exotic in mind, you can go and play around with that shape now. Okay, but the reason I'm showing that is because we can relate almost every scale or almost every chord to how it is similar to the major scale. So last week, well, not even a week, we looked at the idea of a major arpeggio, which is a note, a root note, a note 4 semitones away from it, and then another note 7 semitones away from it. And if you play the first note of the C major scale, the 3rd note, and the 5th note, you'll see that the root note to the 3rd note is 4 semitones, and the root note to the 5th note is 7 semitones. So our major chord is found inside our C major scale. Okay, so we're going to ignore lots of implications now and just go straight on to continuing naming things. So if you have any flashes of inspiration now, feel free to pause the video and think about it for a while. I'm just going to keep on going with how we name tones and chords and stuff. Okay, so a really easy way to describe a major chord then, the notes in a major chord or the arpeggio of a major chord, is by calling it a root, a major third, which is a name for that kind of distance, and a perfect fifth, which is a name for that kind of distance as well. So 4 semitones is a major third, 7 semitones is a perfect fifth. So another even easier way to describe that would be to relate it straight away to the major scale, in which case you could just call it 1, 3, 5 after the root note, the third note, and the fifth note of a major scale. Okay, so that might be a lot to take in for now, and if you're confused at all now, stop, rewind, watch again. So moving on to the differences between major and minor chords. Looking at E major and then E minor, you can see there's only one note changes and it only changes by a semitone. The G sharp changes to a G, and that makes all the difference. Major sounding, minor sounding. Okay, same with A. If we take an A major shape, then make an A minor shape, you can see again only one note changes and it only changes by a semitone. So if we organize those tones again from a root note, so we organize those notes from E for the E chord, so that would be E, a G, not a G sharp, and a B. We can see it's almost identical to the arpeggio of E major, except with this note is flattened. So we could call that a root, a minor third, and a fifth. Okay, so we could describe that arpeggio, or the structure of the notes in the chord, as a root, a flat third, and a perfect fifth. Okay, so we've gone over so much stuff already. If you can find ways of experimenting with these ideas and trying them, maybe expanding the arpeggios over the fretboard, maybe looking at chords, even just playing through the ideas and listening really carefully to the difference between major and minor chords, that will all help. I think that should do us for now. Okay.